Hello and welcome everybody to the latest Unbounded Universities Forum for Asia Pacific, which is brought to you from Times Higher Education in partnership with Coursera. My name is Alistair Lawrence. I'm the Special Projects Editor at THE, and I'll be chairing today's opening panel discussion, which is titled Making the Most of Asia Pacific's Opportunities with Skills Education and Industry Collaboration. I'm joined today by a panel of leaders from academia and industry, who are Raghav Gupta, the Managing Director of India and APAC for Coursera, Farhaga Brownbov, Founder and CEO of APAC Uzbekistan, and Joyce Teo, Vice President of Global Affairs at the University of Brunei Darussalam. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank my panel very much for joining us too. I'd like to start the discussion by asking our panel how digital education can create more diverse curricula for different types of students and build IT and ITES skills in their country and their region. Mr. Farhad, if you'd like to begin, do you have any thoughts on that? Oh, sorry, you're on mute, I'm afraid.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. And sorry. I'm happy to see everyone. Thank you very much for invitation. And I would like to say something regarding these questions. Uzbekistan has taken a big step in the development of online education since 2019 as the pandemic situation because of the pandemic. So as an example, the Ministry of Public Education, they start to implement their lessons in the broadcast and the school lessons on the local TV channels. And universities were also able to organize the online learning systems and implemented in all regions in Uzbekistan. And as a result, society appreciated the convenience and advantage of online education because the students could receive the knowledge from the best specialists in the countries and also appreciate the advantages of the online education. And taking the experience of APAC together with EPAM system, this is our resident company, plans we are establishing the country's first online university. And we call it APAC University. This is a large and ambitious project. Will enable our students to gain access to the best courses and the curricula from leading universities in the world. So the Coursera is the main partner in the selection and development of education program. The Coursera resources will allow us to create flexible curriculum into the account of the students' level of the knowledge and the learning outcomes. We set the task of preparing specialists who will be able to gain the knowledge online using the resources of the world leading universities and professionally design the courses for the students in different skill levels. So advantage of APAC is university its availability. So in Uzbekistan, we have a lot of rural areas there, and they could stay in their regions and continue their education. So APAC provide this kind of new opportunities for them. This is regarding what we are doing here in Uzbekistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Farhad. Joyce, how is digital education creating more diverse curricula in your institution and in your region?
Excuse me.
Oh, you're on mute, I'm afraid.
Could you repeat the question, sorry?
Sorry, no, it was the same question for Joyce. Joyce, you're on mute, I'm afraid. There you go.
Thank you for the question. The global interdependent 21st century workforce is built around computing, communication, and automation. So it's very important that you have the online education. So University of Brunei Darussalam, which is UBD for short, my university, we have been implementing the online education, online learning platform for many years. And especially when the country was affected by the pandemic last March, we have in fact, moved to the online education almost overnight. It wasn't an issue because we have been having the online platform for many years, but you have given us an opportunity for us to improve on the curriculum, to improve on the pedagogy, so the interactive component for the students' learning can be even more enriched. So at the moment, we have been on the hybrid and the online mode. And I say that this is very important. In fact, the online education, working with the industry and hearing the feedback, in fact, this is so important because to support the lifelong learning, because our era now, the learner, the graduates, the students are all, it's about skill, reskill, and upskill. So this kind of the online learning platform will provide very crucial arena for students to continue their lifelong learning as well as the growth mindset. So I'll stop at that and we'll be very happy to chip in later on with other panel again. Back to you, Alistair.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. I'd also like to thank Kamal Amanja, who is joining us today from the American International Institute University in Bangladesh, where she's Vice Chancellor. I was wondering, Dr. if you could tell us a little bit about how digital education is taking shape at your institution and how it is enabling staff and students to communicate and learn in different ways.
Thank you. And I apologize because I couldn't log into the link. So AIUB has been using the digital technology from the time we started. But then during the pandemic, it has, grown so much because we all have to go on a digital platform from March. And even until now, we're still doing online classes. So this digital education has grown so much in the country. And I would say that the students has benefited from this because right now we could invite speakers all over the country or even from other parts of the world using the digital platform. Whereas it will be very difficult, had it been in the regular times, it will be difficult to invite professionals, even from foreign countries. So right now it's very accessible and it really helped. And we normally have sessions with the managers or with the country directors of the multinational companies here in Bangladesh, and we would have a session with them. In fact, not even with the students, but a session with the teachers. So we will have an idea on how to develop the curriculum which would cater to their needs. So faculties are encouraged to hold sessions also on researches, especially with the companies. So this has encouraged the digital the digital transformation during the pandemic has encouraged teachers and students to partner with industries to develop curriculum or to develop projects or to develop any ideas, marketing strategies. So it has really helped the education community of the country. That's it.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Raghav, I'd like to bring you in at this point, if I may, just to tell us a little bit about how Coursera is working across the region in general in APAC, and whether the examples the panelists have given of greater collaboration being possible through digital education and greater collaboration with the industry are typical of the type of innovations that you've been seeing so far.
Absolutely. And also, just I will share your original question as well. Help set up a more diverse curricula. I think there's merit in just taking a moment to say, why do we need a diverse curricula in the first place, right? And I would echo a lot of what my fellow panelists have said, but maybe because I have the benefit of looking at a fairly wide set of institutions and also industries share a little bit of that context, right? So on the Coursera platform, there are upwards of 85 million learners around the world. They take content from 200 companies and universities, and also we, work with many businesses institutions and universities. And what we saw in the last 1.5 years is a very significant change in how higher education is delivered in universities. And maybe there are 4 things. Saw the need for many institutions to prioritize student employability. And this is something that we've seen at a scale that was not happening earlier. What was driving this is that the pace at which technology is changing accelerated, and also hiring for entry-level graduate positions went down by close to 40-45%. So just the number of jobs that were available for students in many countries around the world went down. And so, the importance of student employability went up quite significantly. The second thing that we saw was a massive explosion in the growth of blended teaching. So faculty teaching online, but also using platforms like Coursera. And pre-pandemic, I think various estimates were that, not more than 50% of faculty members had ever taught online, and very quickly, they were required to be teaching online. The third element that we saw was there was significant cost pressure on universities. Residence fee, hostel fee went away. Many students were not able to pay fee levels as well. But what online or digital education also provided is a significantly lower cost of delivery of education for many institutions as well. And then the fourth and the last piece that we saw was that the development of faculty themselves became a very important topic, because if technology changed very quickly, then how does a university develop its own faculty became a very important topic for university leadership. And we saw all of this happening on the higher education side. It's also probably helpful to mention what was happening in the industry. And I was saying earlier, we saw graduate education, graduate employment fall. We saw 40-45% fall in jobs available to new graduates. We also saw in industry that the single largest category where new jobs are getting created is actually digital jobs. So World Economic Forum and companies like Microsoft have put out a lot of research. And Microsoft, for example, says that there will be 150 million new jobs that will get created around the world, which are all digital. So cybersecurity, data analytics, cloud, software development, and so on and so forth. And out of these 150 million, 30 million are going to be in countries like India and other parts of the world, and so on and so forth. And in the context of all of this, we saw that many students who were coming to the Coursera platform were looking for high demand digital skills. That's what they were coming to learn on the Coursera platform. So if I look at top trending skills globally on the Coursera platform, these were artificial intelligence, these were digital marketing, these were blockchain, Python, and topics like that. And I think for the first time, what we saw happening as a result of all this change that we've all seen over the last 1.5 years is, for the first time, I would say, at this significant level of change, universities have started saying that, look, so far we were training or providing education to our students, maybe 90-100% from content coming from our own faculty members. And I think that has opened to cross collaboration, where universities are now teaching their students with content coming from either other universities, or like Dr. Carmen was saying, content coming from industry as well. And so I think that's been a little bit of the stimulus or the significant catalyst to education for a student in an institution, opening up to faculty from his or her university, but also teaching from other universities via platforms like Coursera, or teaching from industry as well. And if I were to just go back to the original question, what digital education, I think, can definitely do in this age where employability is becoming extremely important is make university curricula more job relevant. Whether it becomes diverse or not, I don't know, but the job relevance of university curricula definitely can go up because of digital education.
Thank you, Raghav. Yes, it's definitely a key metric that seems to be a global trend, and not just for APAC, is the need to increase employability for graduates when they are leaving university. One of the challenges tied to that is what exactly digital skills look like. Raghav touched briefly on very technical skills that are needed for the new types of jobs that are created that are going to be jobs for digital services and products. But there are also other skills that need to be taught alongside traditional academic studies in order to create more employable students. These are often cited as teamwork, communication, problem solving, critical thinking. Joyce, do you mind telling us a little bit about how you are looking to embed those skills alongside curricula? Was this something that your institution was always doing, or is it something that you've had a renewed focus on now because of the disruption in the job market that Raghav mentioned?
Thanks, Alastair. Thank you for a very interesting question. In fact, our university, UBD, was set up in 1985. But in 2009, we have decided that together we work with the industry, that we, in fact, overhaul and revive the entire curriculum. So we call it the Gen X program. Under the Gen X program, we have the 3 key principles, that is leadership and innovation, environmental awareness, entrepreneurship. And at the same time, we also put in and embed the skill that include the critical thinking, the quantitative analysis, and digital skilling as well. So coming back to your question, is this new, or is that because of the pandemic that we started to change the curriculum? In fact, UBD has been constantly upgrade and revive our curriculum. So we have been doing this. The last wave was during 2009. And we have been incorporating these skills embed in our curriculum. So it's not just about teaching a module, but rather to put in the 3 key principles and the 5 skills, including the digital skilling that we are talking about today, that into the Gen X curriculum. So what makes it even more interesting is we can't deny that globalization, technology, employment prospect, and innovation are all very complex topics that accompany discussion about the future of higher education. But because of the pandemic last year, it's just pushed us to expedite this. So what we are doing now at UBD is, beside the blended hybrid, we call it, and the online learning we are working on, we make it that it's very compulsory that the 3 key principles plus the digital skilling are embedded in each and every of the student learning, which we call the active learning, into each and every module as well. So we are still working on this. And what is important is we found that another key thing that at other forum that we discussed this as well is the interactive skills. So we want to make sure that when we are doing the hybrid and the online, we must not also neglect on the part that we must have an active learning. This means that it must have an interactive model of learning, that students are interactive, and students are interactive with the professors as well on the topic, rather than it's one-sided listening. So I'll stop here. I have many to share, but I believe that other panelists, other colleagues may have something to share as well. I'll come back to add on the point. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Dr. Carmen, if I could come to you next to ask about this process at your institution, has it been something that you have been actively embedding skills education in this way more intensively in the past 18 months with the shift to online? And if so, if you could tell us a little bit about the process and just generally how it's been received by staff and students. Dr. Carmen, sorry.
Oh, so
that's okay.
Okay, can you because I was currently working. So
Sure.
what is that? I'm sorry.
It was just to ask how skills education is being embedded at your institution, and generally, has it been a more intensive process over the past 18 months or so, and how has it been received by staff and students?
When we started the digital platform, Coursera has given us a big help, because Coursera kept on sending me all these courses, and I forward it to all the teachers. I am putting it on the homepage of AIUB. So most of my students and most of my teachers has taken advantage of these courses. And of course, aside from the digital skills, the students will need also, of course, the critical and analytical thinking. And when we did a survey for the students, if they really want to continue online, you know, it's so surprising that majority of the students wants to continue the online courses, online classes. But of course, we really need them to, we really have to have them inside the campus. So as what other universities will be doing, we will be probably having the hybrid platform. And at this point, I would like to thank Coursera. Thank you so much for all the emails that I've been receiving from you, and it really helped the AIUB community. In fact, one of my employee has got more than 30 certification from your courses. Thank you for that.
Happy to help, Dr. Carmen. Yeah, happy to be able to help. Thank you.
Raghav, to that point, I'd like to ask you how learning communities are changing now in the way that both staff and students are accessing digital education. I mean, both Dr. Joyce and Dr. Carmen have spoken about the importance of skills education and how it's embedding, but it's how do you see the actual shape of how people are coming together and sharing knowledge changing with online platforms?
Yeah, I think what we are seeing is that, you know, as the pandemic starts to stabilize and all of us start to get to grips with, you know, what we have around us, there is an emerging model which is coming through, right? And I think we are seeing a better understanding, a deeper understanding of what a hybrid model or a blended learning model might look like. And I link it back to what I started by saying, that I think it is always helpful to think how industry is changing, and then think back to how education needs to also keep that in mind as education kind of gets students ready for careers in the future. So if we look at, you know, students who are studying engineering or students who are studying management, it's always helpful to say, look, if you're studying electrical engineering, or if you're studying mechanical engineering, or if you're studying computer science, what are some of the jobs of the future? And then how can a university and a platform like Coursera possibly together get students ready for, you know, life, careers, and first jobs? Now, what we've seen a lot of institutions do with this in mind, and this as the objective that they're kind of working towards, is saying that digital education can either be used, you know, via a platform like Coursera, either specifically to get students ready for careers of the future. Right. So if you're a computer science student, you want to go and work in artificial intelligence, learn at your university, but also take courses and projects on a platform like Coursera. The other thing that has happened is that a lot of regulation related to higher education has changed around the world. So in India, for example, the new education policy has come. In parts of Southeast Asia, you know, regulators in Malaysia and Thailand and other countries are also bringing out policies which enable universities to embrace digital education from their own faculty, as well as, you know, from faculty around the world on platforms like Coursera. And as a part of that, what, you know, the education policy, for example, in India allows is that an institution can use a platform like Coursera for credit as a part of what they're teaching. And, you know, this links to what Mr. Farhod was sharing as well, that in our partnership with IT Parks, the intent is that as they set out a degree which students will come and take, a part of that degree will be delivered by their own faculty, but a very large part of that degree will be for credit learning, which is delivered via the Coursera platform, especially those skills that may not be you know, taught by faculty members, those skills which are cutting edge, and so on and so forth, right? So as an example, you know, if you're a mechanical engineering student and you want to go and work in 3D manufacturing, and the institution does not have faculty who's teaching 3D manufacturing, then a platform, you know, on the digital space can come and offer that. So I think what institutions are doing is using platforms for either career readiness of students or for curriculum integration. And this is with the intent of saying, you know, possibly 50, 60, 70% learning post will continue to come from the university once campus is open, and, you know, we back to the world as well, while maybe 20, 30, 40% will continue to come from a platform like Coursera, especially in emerging technologies, especially where faculty might not be necessarily fully available on some of these latest topics as well.
And do you think that online education has shown itself to be sort of durable and flexible in a way that means it will have that longevity? I was just thinking to Dr. Karma's point about how students are saying that they would prefer to continue their studies online, despite obviously that there is some need to still complement that with in-person teaching.
So on our side, we've actually done a lot of learner surveys to say what has been student feedback, what has been faculty feedback, what has also been employer feedback in terms of the learning outcomes that each of these stakeholders has experienced. And I think the fact that online learning can actually be quite engaging, if it is delivered right, and the outcomes can be enabling students to get ready for careers, I think the feedback has been quite positive. I do also want to call out that there is a significant amount of difference in teaching well in a physical classroom versus teaching well in an online classroom, because none of us will be willing to listen to a lecture for 60 minutes and so on and so forth. So there are lots of tools and methodologies and pedagogies that need to be applied in an online mechanism of teaching, which can actually deliver fairly high levels of engagement as well. The additional thing that we've seen actually from an employer perspective, which is quite interesting, is when we work with companies are very focused on skills. Today in our corporate programs, companies are very focused on skills first learning. Are you helping me get an employee ready to become a data scientist? Are you helping me getting an employee ready to become a digital marketer? And we've been working with some universities to say, let's help build skills profiles of your students. So if they took, like Dr. Karman said, 30 courses on the Coursera platform, then which skills did they build by taking those 30 courses? And if that skill profile can then be put in front of a prospective employer, it serves the need of the student and the institution to then be able to match that student to the right employer. So helping build skill profiles is also something that I think a lot of students and employers have appreciated.
Great, thank you very much, Raghav. Mr. Farquhar, if I could just come back to you to ask you another question about how university and industry collaboration can help innovation across the Asia-Pacific region. Have you seen examples of this already? How do you think it will change in future?
Thank you very much for your question. I will try to explain it in the case of Uzbekistan and how we are implemented in information technology sphere, because the IT park in charge of the development of IT in Uzbekistan. So we do that connection through the ecosystem. What does it mean? So we are not taking care only the companies. We are starting to work together with the public schools. We open there the classes across the Uzbekistan. There are more than 200 districts. Each district has the specialized school on IT, and we change the programs there. And these programs, we call it as the IT park programs. So the young school students, they from the school, they start to learn about the IT, not as the users, but all of them, they have an opportunity to take the skills of the software engineers, as a very initial skills of the software engineers. So then we are taking care with them to graduate the school, and they have the opportunity to use the different way. So in Uzbekistan, there are 35 million population. 60% of them, it is the young population. It is huge numbers, I think, 60% of them. We are a developing country. And in Uzbekistan, it's over than 1 million applicants has applied the documents for the universities as the graduate schools students. So unfortunately, only 30% of them has opportunity to study in the university because of the shortage of the buildings, probably for the university, and shortage of the high qualified teachers. And we decide to solve this problem in sphere of IT through the cooperation with the Coursera. And the information technology sphere, it is rapidly developing, and that courses which could be, how I can say that, for 2020, as example, for the some of the courses for the software engineers, it will not be able to teach in 2023 because the technology changed, and we couldn't always be in time with the technology changing. And that's why we try to use the best courses with the Coursera, and each year we are changing the we will change the courses, and will be on the top of the best technologies, I think. So, and as soon as they graduate, some of them go to university, and I hope the huge part of them will enter to our APAC university, because they shouldn't visit the buildings. They could stay at home and continue the education. And as soon as they will graduate, we have very good issues that we have 450 companies who is registered in APAC, and they go to work there before they graduate the university. So this kind of way, we are connecting the education and the innovation. So universities and innovation, and finally, they start, just imagine the school students start work with us from 12 years until 25, they still with ecosystem of IT Park. And finally, they go and they become the labor and start to work from 21 they start to work. But even on them, we are taking care. We are providing them best privileges on the taxes and the custom privileges for them. I mean, this whole ecosystem, this is chain. And one last point I should mention, we already had the experience to work with the other platforms. We call this program 1 million Uzbek coders, and now we have over than 750,000 participants, and over than 3,000 of them already graduate this program. And this is online education program at school, and this is like huge fundamental work which will be ready for the future Coursera courses in university. I think this kind of way we are connecting them.
Great, thank you very much, and congratulations on getting such a successful, ambitious program to be so successful so early on. It must be great to see. I did have a couple of questions for Joyce and Carmen that are related to this, which is about to the point that Mr. Farquhar makes about keeping pace with the change in industry and the change of requirements for technical skills and knowledge. Does this produce a very new problem for educators where you need more interaction with industry in order to stay updated? Or perhaps does it shift the importance back to the other skills that we were talking about earlier? Is it easier to stay on top of teaching them than it is perhaps the technical knowledge? I don't know. Joyce, would you like to let us know what you think?
Thanks, Alistair. I like this question. In fact, this is very key for the 21st century work skills and competency. We really need to work with the industry. So it's really complementing the curriculum. So as I shared earlier, the GenX curriculum is a product of how we work with the industry to get the feedback. So we come back from, we used to have 43 undergraduate degree that we have actually slashed it down to 6, but 6 really very marketable and highly employable degrees, the undergraduate degree. So these are very important to work with the industry. If I may give a few examples. For example, we have an innovation lab on campus that is a collaboration with the industry, where in fact each and every project that our students work on, they are all hands-on industry projects. So we took it from the industry because we see that as what Mr. Farquhar said earlier, if we were to prepare the graduates, the students for the work, for the future of work, it's very important they start from the university. So we have, for example, Innovation Lab, the School of Digital Sciences, they work on hands-on projects from the industry. And second example is we always have the industry practitioner that work as adjunct in our different faculties that go from the medical faculty to the business faculty, because we see that the experience of the industry practitioners are very important to help enrich the skills and the competencies of the learning competencies of the students. So that's very important. And on top of that as well, we also have the industry community that come in to work as the mentor for our students. This is not easy because imagine that they are very highly busy people. So they will come in to be the mentor. For example, we are now talking a lot about the online learning and the virtual learning. So the mentor will come in at their own time to advise the student at a specific time. They will say after the lecture, because now students are doing the online lecture, they will choose a time that online they will be advising, mentoring them to either less on the theory, but more on the practical experience, which are very valuable. So this mentoring process sometimes can go beyond one semester. Sometimes it can go even advising the students in terms of the career development. So we see that the industry partnership for this 21st century is very crucial and important for our university. Thank you, Alistair.
Great, thank you very much, Joyce. Dr. Carmen, I'd like to ask you a similar question, just picking up on another point that Mr. Fakut made, which was about the need to engage with learners when they are younger or learners of different ages. Is there now a requirement for universities to start engaging with people slightly younger, or is it changing in so much as you need to engage with adult learners, or is it all different types of learners that are now changing as we look at building initiatives for lifelong learning with digital education tools? Oh, I'm afraid you're on mute. Sorry. You just have to unmute.
Yeah, I would say it's every one of us should be engaged. I mean, even us. Look at us now. We're still learning, and with all these ideas coming out from this discussion, are we not learning also? I would say that the academia and the industry has a very synergistic relationship. The universities produce graduates who are then hired by the industry, and the industry gives feedback to the universities on the type of knowledge and skills they require in their employees. Then the curriculum is updated. This is always a process in university. And in this way, the gaps are identified and worked on for their mutual benefit so that the societal needs for the goods and services may be addressed accordingly. Furthermore, many corporate houses around the globe fund researches which are carried out by the universities, which forms the essence of new ideas, new work methodologies, which are then adopted by the industry. Look at the current example that we have at the 2020 Times Higher Education World Academic Summit. There was a panel, will universities reimagine collaboration with global companies after COVID-19? And this relates to the Serum Institute of India, which has worked with AstraZeneca and Oxford University on manufacturing the possible COVID-19 vaccine at that time. So we are now using it. So, but then many countries have developed this relationship, but then Bangladesh, in Bangladesh scenario, this needs to develop. There is still no culture. I would say some companies are willing to partner with institutions, but I would say probably only 10%. Although the academia and the industry should be moving together and acting in tandem, the reality is that apart from the very limited areas and occasions of contact and interaction, corporate houses and academic institutions mostly operate in near isolation from each other. This is the Bangladesh scenario. And sometimes it is so frustrating that if I approach companies, they would just say, it's duly noted, we'll come back to you. But that coming back to the universities never happens. So I don't know.
How do you, I mean, it's a very difficult problem, but it's, how do you start to break down those barriers? Is it perhaps just sort of by highlighting the collaborations that do take place and that do work? Is it waiting for more examples around the world to become visible so that people see what they're missing?
I think I think we are slowly going into that relationship between the academia and the industry here in the country. In fact, some of the industries right now I mean, the university has to keep on approaching, telling the companies that here we are willing to help you. We just need a little bit of financial help from the companies, but we will do. In fact, we have one laboratory for innovation, and we invite companies. We invite companies to go and visit and present to them what the university students can do. So it is really difficult for universities here, but it should be more effort. I mean, universities should exert more effort to make the companies aware of what the university can do for their companies. Either it can be in form of product, it can be a form of marketing strategy or whatever. The universities has just to do their part to make the companies aware of the capabilities of a university.
Great, thank you very much. It's not easy.
Alistair, very sorry. Can I add something?
Of course, please do. Yes.
But this is very important from my point of view. I heard the Bangladesh experience, that the authority, as example, in our case, authority to be manage the school, manage the university, and manage the companies is given to the single body, the single entity. And we are the IT Park. IT Park is the public entity, and we all of that chain, as I explained before, they are under IT Park, and we can decide. We know the capabilities, we know the resources, and we can decide and connect each other. It is very difficult when the different bodies, and they are not how I can say that by authority, they are not connecting between each other. This is like interest. All of them, they have their own interest. In our case, this is all under the IT Park, and I hope this kind of experience will be useful. And by the way, next month we are going to Bangladesh. We met the Minister of ICT in Bangladesh, and they invited to the digital forum in November. And I hope I will try to visit your university and share our experiences with you. Thank you very much.
I will be very happy to host you. Just give me probably 2 or 3 hours, because I know if you're invited by the government, your schedule will be so compact. So just give me 2-3 hours.
I will try my best. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. It sounds like we're making progress already. So yeah, this is good news. Rag, if I come to you next, I mean, I did have a question about the sort of the broader landscape for lifelong learning, but we're a little bit tight for time, and I know that you wanted to say something about the questions that we've had from the audience that speak to the challenges around connectivity and integrating systems. So perhaps a good place for us to start to wrap things up would just be telling us a little bit about strategies for integration that are working.
Yeah, sure. This is Professor Kalyani's question in the Q&A. And I think he's asked about connectivity issues and LMS integration issues. I can answer this very briefly. So, I mean, firstly, yes, it's been a challenge for many students, right? Either broadband access has been a challenge, or a device to learn on, a laptop or a tablet has been a challenge. There are some things that we've been doing. So firstly, it's helpful to understand that the highest level of internet broadband that you need is in a live class on a platform, right? That's when you need good speed internet, and you need it to be reliable, because if you get disconnected, you miss the class, and that's it, right? So what we did on back is these asynchronous are available offline as well, which means that when you have internet connectivity, you download the course, and then you can watch it and take education, when it's relevant for you. The second thing that we did was depend again on your internet connectivity. If you don't want to download high resolution, you can download course at a low resolution. You can even download an audio only course if that's what. So some of those have eased, the need during this period of connectivity issues. The other thing that we did is we got into a partnership with Zoom, and we launched a feature called Live to. Now, what this feature does is, in the first, if a faculty member is teaching and the student has issues in accessing that lecture, or the connectivity breaks, the faculty member is actually able to press a button and their live class goes and gets recorded and sits on the Coursera platform. And the faculty member is then able to send that link to a student to view that class later. Whenever they have proper connectivity, they can even download that particular class. And then on the devices side, many students don't have access to laptops or tablets, but usually might have access to a smartphone or a mobile device. And what we've done on our side is, upwards of 5,000 courses, 90% of those courses can fully be accessed on a mobile device. And we've seen these in many countries, in India as an example, that 60% of the learning across millions of people on our platform actually happens on a mobile device. So yes, there are challenges around internet connectivity, but these are just some examples of how technology can also reduce some of these challenges. In the interest of time, I won't get into the LMS integration answer. Maybe we can take that offline separately. But at least on the connectivity side, maybe this might be helpful for Professor Kalyani and anybody else in the audience as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Raghav. Thank you for answering that so swiftly too. I'm afraid that takes us to time. We have actually run out of time for our opening panel, but I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. I think there's about 50 people in the audience today, so it's great to have so many engaged senior leaders come along and share their knowledge and their questions with us. I'd also like to thank our panel, which is Raghav, Joyce, Fogwood and Carmen. Just a note to say that after a short break, the forum will continue with 2 breakout sessions, which will focus on new strategies to increase employability. And one of those sessions will focus on India and the other one will focus on the wider APAC region. So please feel free to join those based on where you are situated. And finally, there will be a closing panel after that, which focuses on the future of international collaboration in Asia Pacific's higher education. We've touched on that slightly today, but I think it will be great to have an opportunity to talk about that in a bit more detail. And again, that panel will be 45 minutes like this one. So thank you again very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the day, and we hope to engage with you at future THE events after this one. Goodbye.